And good afternoon. It is Sunday, January 23rd, 2022. And this is the Front Porch Political Talk show. My name is Hatton Humphrey.
This is Ken Johnston.
And we thank you all for joining us on this scheduled Sunday live stream on both YouTube and Facebook. Before we get into it, and I know I like to do housekeeping stuff at the beginning, but on Facebook, if you're not following us on Facebook, it is facebook.com/Front Porch Political Talk. You can go there, like the page, follow it, see past shows, join us on live streams, all of that fun stuff. On YouTube, it is, I'm going to have to find it again. See how prepared I am for the housekeeping notes here. Well, people have found us on YouTube through the music videos, and I'm actually for those that have just recently subscribed to the show at Front Porch Talk. What you're seeing now, if you're watching us live now, is our Sunday political show. Please, if you're watching us on Facebook, subscribe to the channel. Even if you don't join us for the Sunday shows and are just here for the music, or vice versa, if you're here for the political talk and don't care about Little Big or Sabaton, first of all, how dare you? But second of all, we're doing this because we enjoy it and to show that, it's not just politics. Right. It's not just rah, 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 rah. My points are more important than yours. No. We have fun with it. My default mode is laughing. And so you're welcome to join us for either side of the conversation.
Well, let's explain just a little bit further. I think we talked about it last week, but the reason we started this show was because we decided that we should share our 2 and 3 hour long phone conversations with the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And in doing that, we've gone through a few different iterations of what it is and what we talk about, and it's grown and it's morphed. I mean, first it was just typing, and then it was just audio, and then it was, and now it's this. Now, speaking of this, because the music ones have garnered a lot of pickup, I'm going to be going back. Please, it's one person doing this. Give me some time, folks, and adding tags and descriptions to the to the reboot and forward descriptions in Facebook and in YouTube. I have created playlists on YouTube's, and I will be active on YouTube's. We got it on the YouTube's, Ken. We're gonna be. I'm gonna go back and put in. I've got playlists on the YouTube channel. So if you just want to follow the music, or you just want to follow the politics, I'm going to be putting videos into each of those playlists as well, just to make it easier on folks. As of right now, we're not sponsored. We're not begging for money. We're not asking for anything. This is fun. This is a hobby, and you know what? If you want a discount, I'll give you 100% discount. But that means you got to give me 100% raise.
That's right.
And remember, 100% of zero is still zero. Oh.
Hey, before we go too crazy here,
mm-hmm.
I want to point something out. We have now done 2 music reviews.
Yes.
And one of them has an extremely rabid following.
Yeah, yes.
So I am not going to start taking any credit from Sabaton or for that review. That was all of their fan base.
Oh yes. So let's pull back that curtain a little bit. When we did the, Little Big has a following. we posted the video for our review of Sabaton and their Soldier of Heaven, that video has had it has had 725 views. Now, people are looking on YouTube and go, "That's nothing." Guys, most of our videos have like 10.
Yeah.
So thank you. First of all, thank you to the Sabaton crowd for the watch, and thank you also. And I'm going to say this again when we get to the music the music video that we do this week. Thank you to the Sabaton crowd for your education. Definitely. When Ken said that this group does songs about the history of military actions and organizations and units, that video for Soldier of Heaven, I'll just read one of the comments, and then we do need to actually talk politics. Why we jumped on here, but it is a recording about the event called White Friday. According to one of the commenters here, occurred during the Italian front of World War I, when an avalanche struck Austro-Hungarian barracks on Mount Marmolada, killing 270 soldiers. Other avalanches the same day struck Italian and other Austro-Hungarian positions, killing hundreds. According to some reports, both sides deliberately shelled into the weakened snowpacks in an attempt to bury the other side. An accurate estimation of the numbers from White Friday is not available. Historical documents suggest at least 2,000 victims among the soldiers and a few dozen among civilians.
Wow.
So there's your history lesson, folks. If you didn't watch the music video, go watch it, and that's what it's about. And the more I learn about it, the more impressed I am with Sabaton for the lyrics and for the message. So keep the comments coming. But anyway, I digress. Let's bring things more recent and talk politics.
Or at least the news.
Or at least, yes, the news. And
we're talking about recent. We're talking about robbing trains. We're back to the 1800s in the Old West.
Yeah, I know. So it is definitely not the Wild West where, well, it is the Far West. I mean, it's California. Let's start there. But at some of the train depots, especially at some of the tight bends where trains have to stop and slow down or stop to get around bends, there are some people have described them as gangs. Some people have described them as organized groups of looters that are prying open the cargo the cargo boxes on freight trains and just ripping packages out and grabbing the stuff and leaving all of the packaging. The picture you're seeing here is near the train yards in Los Angeles. And these are empty Amazon boxes and shipping packages and all of those kinds of things, all just strewn around. And they're now in a back and forth of who is responsible for securing the trains and for providing security for trains as they're going down the tracks to keep people from jumping on them and looting them.
I didn't realize they were doing this while the trains were moving.
Well, they're going very slowly at this point.
Right, I know. Still.
Yeah.
A lot of people...
To the point where the LA County District Attorney is accusing the railroad of not doing enough to secure the cargo containers.
Yeah. It's probably true. If you can break into a thing with a set of bolt cutters, you got a problem. You know what I mean? Here's the other thing. A lot of people don't know. There are very, very few private police departments left in the United States. The railroads have one. They have and had for a long time have their own police department that has jurisdiction over the railroads. They can investigate and do their own crime investigation and everything.
Yeah, I get that, and I understand that, but part of the problem here is that because of California's, I'm not going to use the word woke in this sentence,
please don't.
But because of their legislative decisions to decriminalize crime, that's what they've done.
Yeah.
They've said if you break a law, that's okay. We'll write you an appearance ticket.
Right.
If you're speeding, okay, that's not a problem. We're going to write you an appearance ticket. If you break through a glass door at a high-end store and steal, less than $1,000 worth of product, we're not going to try and chase you down. We might find you. I mean,
right. I agree.
They have decriminalized crime in an effort to satisfy some kind of, or to put on some kind of airs of racial justice.
Right.
And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that police departments don't have members that have issues.
Oh, yeah.
Or that some elected officials, or that some, that there's percentages are fair and balanced in representation of populations in prisons, because they're not. But to decriminalize crime and to remove the threat of any kind of consequence for criminal action feeds this.
Absolutely. If there's no respect or no fear of reprisal, you just keep doing it.
If you spend your entire life, or if you have, let's say you have a child, and that child is given consequences for their actions, and then all of a sudden they're not, and they're saying, "Don't worry, we're not going to punish you if you stay. We're not going to enforce a bedtime. We're not going to make you go to school. We're not going to make you do things. We're going to talk to you about them, and we're going to write you a note about it." But that's about all you're going to get. That child is going to go and do everything they can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people make legislative decisions based on their expectations of how humanity should exist. And those expectations are woefully inadequate.
Not real.
So, yes, I understand that the trains, that the rail lines have a private police. I actually had forgotten that fact, but I that does not remove some element of blame for this from LA County and California as the state for decriminalizing crime.
I agree. I'm just saying that the railroad does in fact have a mechanism to deal with some of this stuff. I'm sure they can't put an officer every 100 yards.
Well,
meaning 100 yards of rail line, that'd be a lot of officers. But I'm just saying that they've got to have. And then state laws vary. I don't know if that's a federal law or was state by state. So the police department, the railway police department, police officers may not have any jurisdiction in California.
That is possible as well. And the third thing, a private security officer, armed or not, and I don't know if the rail police are armed, but a private security officer, armed or not, may not want to get into an altercation with a group of people of varying states of mental duress, jumping on their trains with bolt cutters and other heavy implement objects.
Having private security there might be a deterrent, but at the end of the day, security officer's job is to dial 911, observe and report. That's all that. Unless they get attacked, observe and report.
Exactly.
And if and then it becomes the 911 operators and the police department decide if they're going to come to the aid or not.
Right.
The answer is no. Security officer walks away.
Right. So it's this who is responsible question, ultimately, based on what you just said, still falls to LA County. And it still falls to the state of California for making the decision to not have any enforcement.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's 2022, folks. We got train robberies again. Yay!
Hi-ho silver away.
Oh, God. Speaking of away, well, that was a horrible segue, wasn't it? Kirsten Sinema, and yes, that is how you spell her name and how you pronounce it, is a senator from Arizona, and she is one of two Democrats that has stood directly in opposition to the Biden infrastructure and spending plans. And in an effort to strong-arm her into falling back in lockstep with the Democrat spending agenda, she has now been censured by the Arizona Democratic Party. Now, I do not know when she is due for her reelection. Oh, she also opposed getting rid of the filibuster.
Right, which was the way to clear for the Voting Rights Act, which is anything but.
Right.
And that's why because they're claiming that she's standing in a right of civil rights and people being able to vote.
Well, it's funny because I only listen to one real daily talk radio show, and that's Mark Davis in Dallas, Fort Worth. And he has come forth with a challenge. He has said, if you can show me one person who wanted to vote, but due to the laws and legislation and restriction on voting, couldn't in the 2020 elections, have that person call the show, and they will go right to the front of the line.
No one's called yet, have they?
No one has called yet. They've had one of his fellow talk show hosts that he talks to every day, Mike Gallagher, has a national show, and he had one person call, and that one person was upset because he lived in one county in Ohio, and was in physically another county in Ohio and couldn't go in and vote. And Mike very respectfully said, "Sir, you realize that you're supposed to vote in the county that you live in?" Well, that's just inconvenient. Well, you could have voted in the county that you lived in. The person did move. He was visiting friends in that other county. So there's the voting, the voting act, this federalization of voting is a piece of legislation that is unconstitutional on its face, because the Constitution says that the rules and requirements for voting are defined by the states.
Yep.
Don't like it? Amend the Constitution. Good luck with that. We'll see you in 25 years. You know. But yeah. So Sinema and Joe Manchin are the two real, and they're not conservative Democrats.
No, they're not.
They're mainstream Democrats. They are definitely not, they're not trying to reduce the size of the federal government, reduce the amount of spending, reduce taxes. They're not trying to do any of that. But at the same time, they're not willing to put their name on legislation that is going to increase the federal deficit by the chunks of money that these bills are requiring, and they're not willing to put their name to a piece of legislation that is going to be declared unconstitutional.
Right.
So sometimes, and this, hi, let's talk about the impact of actions. I as much as I probably would vote for her opponent in an election, I have to give Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin props for being willing to take those stands.
Yeah, I absolutely appreciate it.
And what I also like is the fact that these things are in the media.
Yep. And here's the other side of the coin when it comes to politics and the filibuster. If she votes to get rid of it, and they pass the legislation they want, then they put it back in place. The Republicans come in and take it, and she starts squawking about, and the Republicans drop it, and then she squawks about it. She looks like a hypocrite.
Well, so the filibuster has been a, keep it or toss it debate for decades.
Yeah.
Every time, I won't say every time, because the big thing is if somebody has the right of the filibuster, they require 60 votes to get over a hurdle. And the Senate, this is what we're talking, this is in the Senate, requires 60 votes to get over a hurdle. Right now, the Senate is 50-50, and the tiebreaker is Kamala Harris.
Right.
So technically, the Senate is led by the Democrats. It's always the party in the minority, in the majority, that wants to get rid of the filibuster, that wants to invoke the, and here's a phrase we've heard in the past, invoke the nuclear option.
Yes.
And that just, it's one of those things that keeps coming up as a threat. It's kind of like shutting down the government.
Yeah.
So, but good for her for taking that stand, and they will continue to push. And I guess she and Joe Manchin are pretty much ostracized, but still have to vote with the Democrat. Vote, they're going to vote their conscience.
Joe,
good for them for doing it. Absolutely. I honestly wish there were more senators that had the intestinal fortitude to vote their conscience. And I don't mean that just on the Democrat side. Right. Because I know that there are Republicans, hell, Mitt Romney would probably love to vote for some of these things. Or, some of the other, I use Mitt Romney because he's a squish, but, there are probably other Republicans that would vote with the Democrats if things weren't so polarized.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're not allowed to vote their conscience.
Right.
And that's depressing. So what isn't depressing is this last article. I don't think we talked about this last week in the last episode. On Saturday, there was a 10-hour standoff between a British man and police and FBI in Colleyville, Texas, which is just outside of Fort Worth. It has come out that not only was this man absolutely radicalized, he actually was on record somewhere bemoaning the fact that he was not able to be more active during 9/11. But he had flown somehow from England to JFK and then stayed at a homeless shelter and managed to acquire a handgun. By the way, illegally.
Oh, yeah.
People that fly in from out of country aren't allowed to walk into gun stores and go, I would like to buy myself a handgun. I'm sorry, I just made him Indian. He wasn't Indian. But the man was unhinged. So I listened to an interview with one of the men that was held hostage, and he came in, and his whole goal. There's a woman, MIT grad, neuroscientist, or neurosurgeon, but also scientist, who had aligned herself with ISIS and the jihadist cause. Not only did she go and help help do surgeries and things, but she'd also come with information on making gas masks and dirty bombs, and she had divorced her husband and married someone related to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, and he had ratted her out, and she is serving an 83-year prison sentence because when she was picked up, she managed to get her hands on a handgun and tried to kill some of the detaining officers and was unsuccessful, but that added to her sentence and kind of sealed her fate.
This was in Britain?
Huh?
This was in Britain?
No, this was in the Middle East.
Okay.
So anyway, she is now being held at a medical facility at an Air Force base in Fort Worth. Colleyville is about 20 miles south of Fort Worth. So this guy goes into this synagogue that there's 4 people in, and it has the delusion that he starts his rant that Jews run the world. And so he thinks he can go in and take a rabbi and some elders at a synagogue hostage, and they can pick up their phone and call Joe Biden and have this woman released. That's literally what he thought. And during the course of the 10-hour standoff, he made the standard anti-Semitic tropes, the standard anti-Zionist tropes. He also made the standard anti-American statements, racist against anything but his flavor of Islam, including the anti-Muslim, the anti, moderate and modern Muslim statements. And so these Jewish, these guys had taken active shooter training that was provided by local trainers in Texas. And at the 10-hour point, the guy was getting more and more agitated, getting more and more upset because apparently the woman refused to even talk to him on the phone. And the rabbi threw a chair at him, knocked him off, and they all went running and ran out the door and ran around the corner so they couldn't see him. And he came out the building, pointed the gun at him, and apparently was going to shoot him in the back as they ran, but he couldn't find him, so he ducked back in, and the FBI React team came in, and he is no longer among the living. So that's what happened then. They are now saying the members of this congregation have said, we are not going to change our ritual for this event.
No.
I love the opening of this article. On the eve of her 100th birthday, Ruth Sultan told her daughter she was going, one way or another, to Friday night Shabbat services at Congregation Beth Israel. Just days after gunmen voicing anti-Semitic conspiracy theories held 4 worshipers hostage. I want to support my people, said Sultan, a Holocaust survivor. She said she told her daughter, if she doesn't take me, I'm going by myself because I feel I belong there.
Absolutely.
So this is a congregation saying no. What was beautiful about this, and Mark Davis covered this a lot, because he's in Dallas-Fort Worth. Apparently, not only during the standoff, the FBI came. The FBI and the police went to the Catholic church that apparently is within visual distance of Beth Israel, and asked the priest, "Can we use this? Can we use your lot? Can we use your space as a staging place?" And they said, "Of course. And if family and people want to come, we'll be here to support them."
Nice.
The Methodist Church, that's also in that same general area, had an interfaith healing service. Invited the entire congregation, invited members of the community, and it was an outpouring of love for that entire community. And nobody died except for the gunman.
Right.
It is still jarring, and it is still, it's still an invasion, even if, everybody's okay. My understanding is that they cleaned up the place and they were ready for Friday night Shabbat service.
Oh.
So
yeah, just go back to work.
Get back to work.
People get it. People get it, man. During the Arab Spring a couple years ago, you talk about the Methodist Church and the Catholic Church. There were pictures of a Muslim congregation that had ringed a Coptic Christian church so that the worshipers could go and not feel threatened.
Yeah. I remember us talking about that.
So people generally get it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that's awesome. This knucklehead. I'm glad that I don't have to share my oxygen with him anymore.
Nope.
I mean, it's really the nicest way I can put it.
That's the best way you can put it.
All
right, so we need to wrap up, but I'll end with this quote. At Friday night services marking the start of the Shabbat, Citron Walker said the words Shabbat Shalom. To be able to offer that to each and every one of you, those words have never felt so good. While we have a lot of processing to do, God willing, the worst is over, and we can have a Shabbat of peace. So, with that, we need to wrap things up. As I said at the start, if you're new watching the political stuff and want to join us, leave comments below, subscribe on Facebook, or subscribe on YouTube, like the videos on Facebook. Leave your comments. We try to reply to comments as much as we can, and we'll be jumping into a music video here very shortly. That'll come out on Thursday, and if you want to watch that, you're welcome to, because it will absolutely be different words in a different order. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Goodbye, everybody.